Hello everybody, this is the KMN 1971 back with another installment of my comic book collection spotlights. This weekend I'm going to be focusing in on my Marvel keys from A to C. Um, Obligatory disclaimer, which I always feel self-conscious when I do one of these videos. This isn't bragging of any sort whatsoever. I've been collecting a long time and it's taken me a long time to acquire these books. Um, just about everyone and their mom on YouTube has a better collection than me, and that's totally cool. But I am proud of the stuff that I do have. So, without any further ado, starting off with Adventures of the on the Planet of the Apes. I want to say this is a Jim Starlin cover. Alias #1. This was a book that I picked up probably 2, 3 years ago, whenever, probably about a year prior to the Alias, rather the Jessica Jones series debuting on Netflix. Good stuff. Annihilation Conquest. Back when I was going through my Guardians of the Galaxy craze, I wasn't sure if this was the first appearance of the modern Guardians of the Galaxy or if it was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, #1. So I picked up both just to be on the safe side. This book has dropped quite a bit since its heyday, but if you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, if you're a Marvel Cosmic fan, I highly recommend picking this up. It's a great story, fantastic covers, great art, great characters. If you love actually reading the comics that you buy, I highly recommend it. Avengers #55, the first appearance of Ultron, another book that I picked up probably a year or two before the Age of Ultron came out. So this book, once again, it's seen its peak, and I don't think it'll ever get back up there again. But I only paid like $15-20 for it. It's 5.5. It's good enough for me. Sorry if I seem to be shooting through these, but I have over 50 something books, so I'm trying to keep this hopefully, maybe over a little over 20 minutes. Avengers #89. This is, I want to say it's the beginning of the Kree Skrull War, which is a classic Avengers storyline, which I have been trying to collect here and there. Avengers '92, the iconic Avengers No More cover with Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America. I want to say this is a Neil Adams cover. Classic. Here I go again with classic Tourette's. This was a book that eluded me for a very, very long time. Avengers '93. This was my first introduction to Neil Adams artwork. Oh, blown away. Young mind blown away. That segment that he has where Ant-Man takes a journey inside the Vision, it's still incredible, even by today's standards. Well, maybe not by today's standards, but it was great. Groundbreaking stuff, and great copy. As you can see, there's a little miscut right there at the border, but I'll take it. Tough book to find in good condition, at least in my area. Avengers 125. This is a book that when I first started watching YouTube, probably about 5 years ago, I want to say, of course, it must have been Mercenot that showed this book off. And it was a ghost ever since then. I had to go to eBay to pick this bad boy up. Very fine condition. I'm happy with it. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time that Thanos ever crossed over into an Avengers title. I want to say in Avengers 118, there's a small little, you can barely see him, but there's one panel of Thanos fighting during the Avengers Defenders War on Titan. But I don't think anyone's really noticed that. But I think this is the first true blue Thanos appearance in an Avengers title, so definitely worth picking up. Mercenot was definitely ahead of the curve on that one. Avengers 181, of course, as we all know now, the first appearance of Scott Lang. For decades, this book was a $3 book. Not anymore. And it shouldn't be, just based on that awesome George Perez cover. God. Another classic. Avengers Annual #7. which guest stars Warlock and Captain Marvel battling Thanos. As a young, ooh, well, I read the reprint editions of these, so I didn't read them when they first came out. I read them probably in the early '80s, probably 5 or 6 years after they were published in the when Marvel had those deluxe format reprint editions, and I fell in love with this stuff. This is shortly after I read the Death of Captain Marvel graphic novel, and I was searching out anything with Jim Starlin's name on it. To say the least, this Thanos War, which continued over into Marvel 2-in-1 Annual Number 2, blew me away and is still one of my all-time favorite stories. Book I showed off a while ago, Black Panther #1, Newberry Comics variant, and what makes it super cool for me is that super cool Neil Adams signature. Yes! That's the only signature I have in my collection. Pretty good one, though. Cable Deadpool #1. I've had this one for a while. When I first started hunting down Deadpool issues, this was one of the only debut issues, #1 issues, that I could find that wasn't like totally hiked up in price. Of course, this was well before the Deadpool movie and well before they found out Cable was going to be in Deadpool 2, and this book just shot up. So, really happy to have it for the price. I think I paid like maybe $10 for a mint copy condition of this. And at that time, I thought I was overpaying. Cable and Deadpool #24. The first team up between Spider-Man and Deadpool proper. Cable and Deadpool #38. The first appearance of Bob, agent of Hydra. And of course, the last issue of Cable and Deadpool #50, which was hot because one, it's the last issue, and two, it has this one panel where a symbiote and Deadpool merge for a little bit. Like I said, some of these books aren't like I said during my DC segment of quote unquote keys. Some of these keys are major, in between, and minor. And I have other keys other than these two, but these were the ones that I've had separated from the bulk of my collection, where I have just a couple of boxes just of keys and not in sequential order with the rest of my comics. And I just didn't feel like digging them out. And Captain America is a good example of that. I have the first appearance of the Winter Soldier and other Captain America issues, but I just didn't feel like digging them out of my long box. But for some reason, I had this one set aside, and I know why, obviously. I'm a huge Wolverine dork, and Mike Zeck drawing Wolverine battling Captain America. You need to own this comic. Oops, sorry. A little out of order there. One of my favorite comics in my collection, Captain Marvel #1. Now, for a Silver Age book, this is probably this is either fine plus or very fine minus. I mean, for Silver Age, this thing is killer. And considering it's one of my favorite characters, love it. Love it, man. It's one of the few that I have from the debut series from the late 60s, where Marvel was really expanding their lineup. So, Captain Marvel #1. #2, against the Super Skrull. #3, also against the Super Skrull. #4, which unfortunately is in fine minus condition, but for the price I couldn't bitch about it too much. Let me move these out of the way. #25. Now I would keep a lookout for this book. Now I'm going to use a comparison of Domino. For the longest time, I thought Domino's first appearance was New Mutants #100. I guess that is no longer the case. It's what is it? X Factor #9 or something? I forget. I own it also, so it's no big deal. But as we all know, Iron Man #55, I believe, first appearance of Thanos. Now that is a major issue, and I would love to own it. But as anyone that's actually read the story, it's not Thanos in that actual story. It's a robot of Thanos. Kind of how Domino wasn't really in New Mutants number 100. It was Copycat. So, I know that the industry, it's kind of like a Hulk 181. The industry is never going to change now with so many people invested in Iron Man number 55. But I want to say it was either this issue where the real Thanos actually debuted, or it was this issue. It's been years since I've actually read these. But this is definitely Thanos' first cover appearance. Oh, and I'm sorry. I don't know if I gave the numbers. So that is Captain Marvel number 25. A Jim Starlin classic. This started Jim Starlin's classic run on Captain Marvel. And number 26. And as I said, first Thanos appearance on a cover, and possibly first Thanos in comics. This one I don't have in Mylar just because it's banged up, but it is a placeholder, just so I could complete my Jim Starlin Captain Marvel run. So Captain Marvel number 27, 28, 29, and I love that cover. That is probably my all-time favorite Captain Marvel cover. I mean, that just screams Bronze Age superhero. That just screams Jim Starlin was heavily influenced, like most artists of his generation, by Jack Kirby. Captain Marvel number 30. 31. 32. And 33. Love. I was definitely psyched when I was able to complete that run. Alright. Another classic. Conan the Barbarian, number 1. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I've been a comic book collector for a long time, but I didn't become a serious collector, like spending some coin on comic books, until about probably 4 or 5 years ago. I just got to an age I was going out less. I was going to concerts less. I was doing a lot of the things that I used to enjoy less, just because there was less out there for me to enjoy. But one of my hobbies that I've continued to enjoy over my life has been comics. So I figured life was short, and why not get those books that I've always wanted, those books that were in that glass case when I was a little kid and I could never afford them. This was one of those books that taunted me when I was a young child, and I used to own a ton of Conan comics. Over the years, I've repurchased many of them, and one of my favorite runs of all time was Conan the Barbarian, the Roy Thomas, Barry Windsor Smith era. So this is basically the whole Roy Thomas, Barry Windsor Smith era on Conan. So number 1. Two. Number 3. Now this one, if for Conan collectors out there, which I know I'm probably only speaking to 5 of you out there that actually collect Conan, but number 3 is supposed to be a low distribution run, so it will cost you more than number 2, and it's one of the more sought after. It's kind of tough to find for Conan collectors trying to complete this run. So number 4, 5, 6. This one's probably only in fine minus condition. Placeholder for now. 7. 8. 9. 10. Move that out of the way. Number 11, a double-sized issue. And so is 10, actually. 12. 13. 14. which was the first comic book appearance of Elric. Number 15. 16, with just a killer Barry Windsor Smith cover. 17, 18, 19, 20, and I consider all of these to be somewhat keys. I mean, if you want to buy any of these, unless you can get them at a deal at an LCS, like 6.5s are going to run you around like $20 for these issues, and rightfully so. Imagine if there was actually demand for Conan. Number 21, which is probably my favorite Barry Windsor Smith cover of the run. Well, no, probably not, but it's definitely in my top 3. Number 22, which is a reprint of Conan #1. Number 23, which is the first appearance of Red Sonja. Number 24, which is it's the first full Red Sonja story. I guess that's how it's advertised as. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, but it's definitely worth having. And lastly, the last issue of the series, Conan the Barbarian number 275, with that tough black cover. Awesome stuff. So, alright, yes, I kept it under 20 minutes. Well, I guess I have time to just show... I haven't done any comic book hauls lately, because I've been kind of like recollecting some of my funds after buying that big Fantastic Four book a couple of weeks ago. But I have still been hauling out there, and when I first started hauling, while doing my YouTube videos, I had a couple of hauls in the bank, basically, because I know sometimes you can go out fishing and there's just not any, bites out there. So I wanted to make sure that I could at least do a video every single week. And when I didn't have enough to put out a video, I would do these comic book collection spotlight vids. So I do have enough for a haul now, but I'd like to get a couple of hauls in the bank before I start doing my comic book hauls again. But with that said, I want to give a heads up to the community about this book. Nightwing number 16, an Ivan Reis cover B, or variant, whichever you want to say. And this is an obvious homage to Frank Quitely's Batman and Robin #1. Now, I wanted this book anyway, just because I thought it was a really cool homage cover. And once again, I have to give a heads up to CBSI. There was a poster on there that posted about this book, saying that it was already sold out at Midtown and all the online shops. So I was lucky enough to end up getting a copy. And this book, I want to say, is going between $15 and $20 online. So not a hot book alert, but I guess a warm book alert. And hey, I mean, wouldn't you want to pick a book up for $3 as opposed to $15 or $20? That's the only reason I'm giving the heads up about it. So that's all I have for this week. I will see you all next week with another comic book collection spotlight video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. And yeah, that's about it, man. All right, I'll take it easy. See ya.